Hi everyone, it's Ann at Martin House Flowers. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this video. In this video, I am going to share with you my new bed that is on the east side of the greenhouse that I just laid down some cardboard and using the no-dig method, and I've edged it, and I planted a few new perennials that you'll see here. My hydrangeas have arrived already from Proven Winners Direct. And at the end, I'll show you my husband working on the greenhouse. We're at the final stages of the greenhouse. He decided to paint the interior. So, of course, like many of us, I went to, and I think it looks fabulous, a couple of my local nurseries, and I picked up some new perennials that I've never had before. You just saw there the turtle head, and here is the Roseanne geranium that Jen from Pretty Little Garden featured, and I'm really excited about planting those next to the new hydrangeas. This is Amsonia String Theory, and it's another cut flower perennial, so I'm excited about that. I wanted to feature Mandevilla. I've got 3 of these now on the patio that I picked up late in the season from Lowe's, and they're doing fabulous, as well as the sweet potato vine. The Proven Winners Super Petunias are doing great as always. And you'll see here that the roof vents were installed. My husband got that done. This is just a little walk through the garden so you can see what's blooming in August. My containers, my urns at the front porch are continuing to do super well. I love the that collection there. My lavender is getting its second flush after I've pruned those back. I could never get all of these lavender plants to bloom at the same time because I think I planted them over 2 or 3 periods because sometimes a plant does not survive and I've replaced them. So here you'll have a little view here of my roses, my climbing rose here, which is Eden. I did train it with some zip ties, and I'm excited to see those start to climb. New hanging basket there with the lantana is looking great. My Rosa Sharon is blooming. These daylilies I'm always thinking about replacing, but so yeah, this Bobo hydrangea, I noticed a couple people mentioning in YouTube that they're struggling. I have 1 out of 3 there that has yellow leaves, and I don't know what the issue is. So if you have any ideas, let me know. This is the new raised bed area, and that is Arbor Rose Honeymoon that is already blooming but still tiny. I've got some very invasive, I'd like to say, baby pumpkins that are taking over this bed, and now I can't find the sunflowers, so I think I need to cut that back. Here are the cupcake cosmos, white cosmos that are blooming, and I did in my previous video cut a couple of them, and they did really well, so I need to go in here and do another cut flower arrangement. It's been about a week since that last arrangement that I cut. And I love that celosia and the salvia. So here the zinnias are catching up. The ones that I direct sowed are at the front there of the bed. They're a little shorter. And then the soil block ones are the super tall ones. So I have cut on those zinnias, the taller ones, at least twice. So I'm about to do a 3rd cut. Snapdragons have been in the beds since middle of May. And I'm just so thrilled with how prolific and continuous blooming they are. So I need to cut back those again. And my newly planted roses that I've had to put cloches over. There's an Impressionist and a Kiss Me Kate because there is a bunny living in this snapdragon bed, which you will see in a moment if you watch close enough. I basically missed it by a split second, and there it is under the arch. Those crazy rabbits, they drive me crazy. Every day I've got to chase them down. So this new bed that I put in, I think in early June, is doing great. Loving the bloomerang lilacs. They're on their 2nd bloom. My Baptisia And a new plant here, the penstemon, I planted for hummingbirds from our local nursery there at Wasco Nursery, where we picked up all of our trees. I love this rising sun red bud, and it just started to turn color about a week ago. I thought it was just a standard red bud. I couldn't recall the variety. And this Veronica that I got from Heirloom Roses, I'm loving how full it looks, even more so than my ones in the front that are older. So these are my trees that I love so much. There's the weeping cypress and the Korean fir that we just walked by. And just looking back at last year's raised beds, the 2-foot ones. And of course, my hydrangeas, they're not going to be blue, they're pink. And my delphiniums, they're on their second flush. I'm so excited. And you'll notice my little limes here have started to turn color. And I think it's because we've had a couple of cooler nights. They tend to turn this rosy, dusty rose color when it gets a little cooler later in the season. So they're in full bloom. And my quickfire fab hydrangeas have definitely gone rosy that were planted last fall. And this area here, I call my failed sunflower bed, my failed berry bed. So I did pick up a couple new hydrangeas to go in here, some quickfires that will, I think, look nice next to these quickfire fabs. So I'm sharing here my incredibly difficult weed that loves to creep over from this empty lot. I am religious about weeding these no-till beds here, this entire length of the rose garden and the quickfire fabs. And there you'll see I also zip tied the New Dawn rose. But yeah, I've been religious about weeding this area because I have new plants and I don't want them getting choked out, but I cannot keep up with that creeping vine weed that comes from the next lot. So I went in that afternoon. It was on the weekend that I filmed this, and it was pretty hot, but I still went after those weeds. That's Rosanna Jacobs. That is a nice hybrid tea. And this is this is another David Austin rose there. Olivia Rose coming up here, these 2 pink ones in the back, the light pink. She's so prolific. I think in my earlier video of my review of roses, she is my favorite first impression pink rose. And this is Easy Spirit. And I was so excited about these ones. These are David Austin, Queen of Sweden. It's funny because there's 2 of them. There's one right there directly in front, and it's just starting to bud out, and they were planted at the very same time, so one plant is further ahead than the other. So you can see that rose bed that was just planted in May is already quite full. And these Skyview big leaf hydrangeas, they continue to struggle and need a ton of water. This is after they were cut back so significantly after the June heat wave we had. There's a Veronica that has been cut back. And it's an older Veronica variety, and it's not doing that great. I will get a second flush, but it's not as prolific as the Royal Candles in the backyard. There's another Tchaikovsky. I have 2 of those, and he is the most prolific, and he's a beautiful creamy yellow. And Distant Drums that I cut back in a previous video where it got a lot of bug damage is now leafing out nicely, and that will get probably a third set of blooms. And there's Kiss Me Kate. She has grown so tall and so lush, and she's about to bloom. She's probably 4.5 feet tall. So there's some of the harvest with our datil peppers and our lettuce. This is my second round of lettuce that I picked from this bed. That, believe it or not, I have cut back those crazy tomatoes that are Jurassic. I did cut them back as they were spilling over. And my zinnias that I planted here, they seem to be attracting the aphids, so will hopefully leave my veggies alone. I just had some leftover zinnias in soil blocks, and I didn't have any beds ready yet, so I plopped them in here. And of course, my husband thinks that there's too many flowers in there, I think I've mentioned before. And there he is. There's my hubby. He's emptying the greenhouse. This was over the weekend, and he's pulled out all this furniture that I couldn't help but start to plan out in the greenhouse, and that's a Facebook Marketplace find I have there. And he's not loving that green. Let me know what you think. Greg thinks I should paint it, or he wants to paint it white because most of what's in there is white. And there's Eddie just scratching at the door wanting to get out. So the first step in preparing to paint the concrete was he moved the gravel away from the wall, kind of created a little trench there, and that just showed me how thick that gravel is, which is great because I know when the contractors put in this foundation for the greenhouse, they didn't put any fabric down. They just put in a nice thick layer of gravel. So I finally let Eddie out. He was in and out all weekend into the garden, but he really found the heat this weekend in the high 80s, almost 90s, too warm. So he'd come out and hang out with us for a few minutes and then would basically whine to go back into the air conditioning. He is definitely an air conditioning loving dog. He does not like the heat, and even though he just had a haircut, he just wants to be part of all the activities. I wonder how everyone else's dogs are doing in this heat. I find that most of them don't really want to be out walking. So there's that kind of console table that I picked up. I think I paid about $60 for it. And yeah, let me know what you think. The green is growing on me, but you know, Greg thinks that we should paint it white. So maybe if he has time, but I can certainly live with it. So he's power washing the inside of the greenhouse. You know, once you get that power washer out, he felt that he might as well get all those flies and, you know, whatever debris got in there, and bird poop, since I think I showed you guys a couple birds got stuck in the greenhouse. They didn't know how to make their way out. So here he is. He started painting late in the afternoon. It was a super hot day, and we even propped the umbrella, the patio umbrella, to kind of give him some shelter there. He started to paint over, or put some tape on the edge, and then he said here that he wouldn't bother continuing that since the frame is white, and you know, the paint he was using was white, so that was just a waste of time. So I think it took him roughly 3 or 4 hours to paint this knee wall. You'll see that he worked from late afternoon until the evening into the sun setting, and basically it got dark. I think he worked probably from about 4:30 till about 8 o'clock at night. And I was teasing him that he always says, oh, it'll only take an hour, and it takes 3 or 4 times longer. But, you know, it's all about anticipating all those other extra things you have to do to prep before you paint. So Eddie checked that out. He approved. So while Greg was painting on Saturday, I was weeding the garden, weeded the entire, let's see, that's the west side of the yard from the front to the back. So there's the wall, now painted white. I think it looks so much better, don't you? Greg was really good about doing that. I honestly didn't even ask him to paint the concrete. I was ready to live with it because, you know, it's a greenhouse, and I figured all the walls would be covered up with all of my furniture and shelving. But he insisted on painting it white, and I'm glad he did because it looks so much fresher, and it's just more cohesive, and it makes the greenhouse look cleaner and taller and all of that. Just sharing one of our beautiful sunsets here in northern Illinois. It's a gorgeous warm August night, and our skies are typically beautiful like this. They usually are orange and pink and just incredible. The sunsets always are so amazing. And sure enough, Greg worked into the night and finally finished around, it was probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock when he finished up, and even carried in some of the furniture that was sitting out there on the grass, just in case it rained. But I am so, so happy with it. My hero. He always does everything to the finest detail. And the next day, this was Saturday night, the next day he was going to tackle installing the doorway. Well, what a surprise. Proven Winners Direct delivered the new Quickfire and Quickfire Tidbit hydrangeas that I ordered, I think only 2 or 3 days ago. My earlier video, I was debating on which Quickfire or which paniculata hydrangea to order, and I believe they arrived, gosh, within 2 or 3 days. So when they arrived, they were pretty hot, so I gave them a nice drink. And this is the no-dig bed that I completed on Sunday while Greg was struggling with the door on the greenhouse, which is still not up. We ran into a bit of a hiccup. So we put the furniture back in. I added in the table that I picked up at Home Goods and my window boxes. So this one I picked up from Amazon, this workbench, I call it, where I will do my seeding, my potting. That white console table there, I picked that up at Home Goods. These are some hooks I picked up from Hobby Lobby and that little terrarium. I mentioned that we ran into a hiccup with the door. Basically, it is not fitting. And we're waiting to hear back from BC Greenhouse as to what we can do to resolve that issue. I may end up having a greenhouse without a door. But anyway, hopefully Greg doesn't have to take apart the greenhouse and break glass. So that's our dilemma right now. In the meantime, I am going to plant up the hydrangeas on that bed since I had already started planting up the other perennials. And it's a beautiful, cool, a little bit of drizzle that's happening today. And I'm going to take advantage of the cool weather so that I'm not scorched while planting. Since it had only been a few days that I had laid down cardboard and mulch, I had to cut through the cardboard when I was digging the holes, and it wasn't too bad. I also added my Plantone, which has biotone in it, and the soil underneath was pretty good. So I planted 3 of the Firelight Tidbit Hydrangeas, and on each side a Roseanne hardy geranium, and I think it looks pretty good. So on the far end, we've got the white chiffon hibiscus, the turtle head, then the Roseanne geranium, and the 3 Firelight Tidbit hydrangeas. Here's the label for the Firelight Tidbit. So I can't wait till it blooms. Not sure if it'll happen till maybe next year. But basically it is a petite shrub that can handle 6 hours of sun and 4 to 6 hours of shade. It'll grow about 3 feet wide, tall and wide. And I think that was a good choice. So there's the last Roseanne hydrangea. There's a gap there for the rose that's coming in, the Delish rose that I believe is coming on Friday. And on the corner here is this Amsonia that I've never had before, but I'm excited to see how it grows because it's supposed to be a nice blue cut flower. Later, after planting that bed, I decided to cut a bucket of cut flowers and put together a picture of flowers for my dining room and use the greenhouse today for the first time to arrange some flowers just because it was such a beautiful, cool evening while my husband mowed the lawn. So I just did a couple of informal arrangements. Hope you enjoy them.